Hey guys, Josh here. Today I'm installing gas lift spring assists on my 1998 Stratus 273. When I bought the boat, it did not have any on it. It didn't come with any. So I've done some research and looked around the internet to try to find out how to install them. And there was no how-to videos or information, so I decided to make this video so I could help others install like I have, that are DIY kind of guys. And so yeah, I figured it'd be a lot easier to show you the information that I all gathered in one spot. That way you guys can cut your time down if you want to install some on your own. So first off, what I have is I have a 10.5 inch lift assist spring that I bought from Stratus Direct. You can get them in any parts store, hardware store, or anything. The first thing you got to figure out is how much your rod weighs, so you know how strong of a spring you need to get. You're supposed to take the lids off and weigh them, different aspects. I kind of guesstimated how much mine would weigh, and I just got two 10.5 inch 30-pound springs. The first thing you need to know, you need to take and measure, lift your lid up where you think you want it to go, and then measure the distance between where you think your mounting point is and the other one, and get your spring according to that way. So it's going to vary from boat to boat, but you want to at least lift your lid up and then measure it that way. And I'll show you right here with the one I've already installed. Actually, I'll show you on the one that I haven't had installed yet. So what I got going on. So you can see, this is my dirty rod locker area. It does not have a lift assist yet. So what I did was I lifted up the rod to about the angle of where I think I'm going to want it, and then I measured the distance from here inside to here, so I can at least get a length. It's okay if you get if you got a 10, I got a 10.5, say you go an 11.5, that extra inch shouldn't matter too much, just as long as you have enough length. You can't shorten it. You can shorten it distance wise if you have too long of a rod, but you can't lengthen it. So it's better to get the correct length right off the bat. That way you can install them. So I'm going to come over here to the one I've already installed, and I'm going to show you what I went ahead and did. So here's the one I have installed already. As you can see, it goes down fine, and then it lifts up fine. So I think that's about right. It seems about right, so it works, and it's better. It saves me from having to lift it up and hold it anymore. So how I went about installing this, like I said before, I measured the distance to get an idea of how long of a rod I would need. I got my poundage, so I'm going to show you what I did to mount the hardware. I did something that would take the guesswork out of it. I might make it easier for everybody, but like I said, it's going to vary from boat to boat, so I kind of rednecked it a little bit to get the idea of where it's going to be. So I'll show you how I started that. First, I took a Sharpie, a red one. It could be black, I guess, depending on the color of the underside of your lid. And I'll show you what I did with the bracket here. Let me get some lights. So here's the bracket, as you can see, and then here is the other bracket right here, and then of course here's the gas spring. What I did to start off with is I took my Sharpie And then I went over here and I knew that when I shut my lid, that this bracket right here had to be far enough away from the lid to clear this area right here. Now, I decided to mount this on a 45-degree angle, depending on how you want to mount yours. I know the new boat styles, you know, are doing them here in the middle, kind of like this. The problem with my boat is that the fiberglass stops right here. New boats, it'll U down and you'll have an extension of fiberglass, and you can mount it just to that fiberglass that's hanging down right here, and you can do this like this, like so. So it would probably be easier to mount them like this if you had that extra fiberglass, but I don't, so I had to do it the old-fashioned way, like this. So back to how I did this and got my bracket area right here. What I did was I took this Sharpie and I took it into the corner of the thing right here, and I taped it in. So I taped that Sharpie in just high enough that when I shut my lid, it would touch the top of this metal. So I taped it just like this because I knew that this bracket has to clear this excess fiberglass. So like I said, I taped the Sharpie right here, and then I taped it, and then I closed the lid. And then as I closed the lid, I did it again and 2 or 3 times, and it put a dot on here on my lid, a couple of them actually, pretty clustered, where you could see an idea of the location. And that is where I put the center of this mount, this little ball mount here. I knew that when I closed it, that this bracket ball mount would be right in this area right here. So I put the center of that ball bracket and lined it up with the dot that Sharpie made on the back side. That's all you're doing, is giving it as a reference point to install your bracket. So then from there, I installed it, I held it, I Sharpied my holes that I needed to drill, and installed the first bracket here. So I went ahead and installed it. I got machine screws, and they're buried into the carpet, so you can barely see where they're at, if not at all. So it makes for a nice clean installation. And then I got some locking nuts on the back side there. So after you install your first bracket, that gets your idea of where you want it to be. Like I say, you mark your dot, and then you want the center of your ball to be where your dot is on the back side. You're not drilling anything, that's just a reference point of where you want the center of this ball. And then you can mount your bracket accordingly, like from right there. And then I went down here on this bracket, and I brought it out far enough that I knew it still have enough poundage right there, where it would have enough lift and still be out of the way. The one thing that you have to take into account with these gas springs is measuring the compression. And when I say compression, is it may be 10.5 inches in length, but your compression is only from this right here to this right here, which was 3.5 inches. So your compression, you only had 3.5 inches of compression. So what you need to do, if I would have moved this bracket, say down here or right here, I wouldn't have been able to shut my lid because it would have taken that entire 3.5 inches and closed it. But when I moved it out farther this way, right here, then as I close this lid, it compresses, as you can see. I'll try to do this. It compresses almost all the way down to about, I'd say, 2 3/4, almost 2.5 maybe, give or take. It's hard to see, it compresses all the way down. Once it gets to this point right there, it's actually going to be under here. It's going to come down, and then it's not going to compress anymore. So that's the one thing you need to definitely take into account, is the compression length, or how much depression that you're going to have. So if you move it in, you're going to take up all of your compression and not be able to shut your lid. If you move it out, there's less force being applied by this, but you're not compressing it all the way where you can't shut your lid. So that's some tidbits that you need to definitely watch out for, and help you install yours, because I didn't have a video or anybody show mine. I just went off of pictures that people sent me and researched, and I figured it'd be a lot easier to show you guys how I went about doing it. That way, anybody that wants to tackle it themselves, they'd be able to do it a little bit easier. So yeah, that's basically how I did my install on this particular locker. So this is a practical of how I installed the other side. As you can see right here, I have my pin that I taped, just enough that would cover this distance right here. So then as I close the lid and I get it to, I probably need to move that down a little bit more. So there's my taped pin right there in the corner, and then I'll close the lid and it'll make a dot. I'll close it actually several times and it'll make a cluster of dots right there. I can get an idea of where my ball needs to go. So I'll go ahead and close the lid now. And it's hard to see, it looks like a little wet spot, but you can see where the first dot was, and then the weight of it, I probably have it a little too high, caused the pin to move. So the first dot is right there. So basically, like I said before, I need to know that it's definitely going to clear this corner. So what I would do would make sure that the center of this dot, or this ball, is in the center of this dot right here. So I would get down level and do it like so, and then mark my holes and drill it. That way I know that it's definitely going to clear this section right here. But I actually taped this on with some duct tape and then closed my lid before I drilled any holes to be sure that that dot is accurate. So from the looks of it, it looks like it's pretty spot on. Then you just hold the bracket, peel the tape off, and then go ahead and mount your holes. So that helps with your starting point. For me, I ran into a problem, and I'll show you what I've got going on here. Is that this is the taped measured spot that I have. So if I pretended I was going to put that on, and then I'll bring this down here and you can look and see, even if I snap it on, it's going to come to here. You can see that this bottom gas lift is pretty far away from my edge, and then it's pretty close to my weather stripping. So even if I mount this here, so the next mount, the bottom mount, is this mount right here. And if I mount it like so, it's not going to stick out far enough to catch that other mount, or to catch that end of that spring. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to move this over, same spot area, but move it over just a smidge, in order to clear this and give me a better angle to load this up. So and it seems to be just fine. Not too shabby. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helped somebody out. So it makes the things a lot easier for you guys. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.